I really wanted to talk about love because legs are falling asleep already and I just sat down. Let's just jump right into it. First, I have to apologize to Prague. If you remember, I had an incredible month in Prague. That month is so unique and such a special experience. I loved it. But Prague was overtaken as my favorite city. All it took was 1 week in Lisbon and I was in love. I am not exaggerating when I say September was one of the most important months of my entire life. I can see myself living in Lisbon, even more so than in Prague. I just hope one day I can make that a reality. If you're planning a trip to Europe and you're not sure where, go to Lisbon. Food. I spend way too much money on going out to eat. I'm gonna cook every day. I went grocery shopping once. Bought a bunch of chicken. I made sure I stored it correctly this time. Every month so far I've purchased broccoli and I've wasted broccoli. I cooked maybe twice. The problem with being in a cheap city is you want to try everything, and it's also good looking. You justify it like it's so cheap. Pop Cereal Cafe is one of my favorite places in the city. If you haven't seen my Pop Cereal video, go check it out. I love those dudes. Marco, Philippe, thank you guys so much for letting me hang out there. I had a fantastic time. I spent so much time at Pop Cereal Cafe, like way more time than any human being probably should have. It's such a friendly, colorful, welcoming environment, and you can work there. You can eat cereal at any time during the day. They're open till like 11 p.m. Some nights I think they were open till like 1 a.m. Could you imagine your drunk meal is like a bowl of cereal with your friends? That's amazing. Go watch that video. Honorado Burger was my favorite burger. You get the Honorado Burger, which is also the menu item. I went there like 3 nights in a row, and on the 3rd night, the waiter was just like, "See you tomorrow." And I was like, I couldn't even deny that. This month was especially important to me because I fell in love with Pastel de Nata. If you haven't had Pastel de Nata, it's basically like an egg tart pastry, but it's so much more than that. The best Pastel de Nata is Montegria. All they do is Pastel de Nata, and that line is usually pretty long, but it moves so quickly. And you walk in, all you say is how many you want, and they give it to you. And if you're lucky to get there right as they're pulling them out of the oven, it is absolutely heaven. I had a serious problem. I justified it by saying, I have to walk up these hills every day, so I can afford to eat 3 Pastel de Nata every day. They're like 400 calories each. My roommate and I developed like a sixth sense. Like, if we were both at the apartment at the same time, we would just like look at each other from across the room and we would just know like we both wanted Pastel de Nata. They are so good. Tyler actually wrote a love poem about them, and I'll link to that in the description. Transportation in Lisbon is okay. I only used the metro once. It seemed pretty straightforward. I did not ride the tram at all. I did high-five a lot of people on the tram. There is Uber, but it doesn't work that well. The GPS in Lisbon is a little wonky. My favorite months require a lot of walking. One day we walked like 12 miles, and then the next day I walked like another 10 miles solo. It was just a lot of walking this month. Lisbon is the capital city of Portugal. It is absolutely gorgeous. It is a safe city. The architecture is beautiful. The colors are beautiful. Because it's the city of 7 hills, there's so many crazy views in Lisbon. It should be called the city of 6 million hills. The city provides you with so many spectacular views. There's a lot of lookouts or terraces known as miradoros. Some of my favorite moments in Lisbon were moments where I was just sitting at one of these miradoros having conversations I spent a day wandering around the city with a friend, and we ended up sitting at, I think it's called Adamastor. It's at Santa Catarina, just overlooking the river, the Golden Gate Bridge, and the Christ the Redeemer statue. We were sitting there just having a great conversation, and then all of a sudden there was like some live music playing and everybody around was just listening and dancing and enjoying themselves. And it was such a wonderful experience. At any moment in the city you can find live music, whether it's a festival, whether it's street performers, or fado. The genre of music that originates from Lisbon is called fado. This really, really emotional, kind of sad music. That city is so lively. You have to go to Barrio Alto, obviously. That's like the place to go for nightlife. The nights don't start until 10 p.m. A lot of times I didn't find myself going to those places until midnight, 1 a.m. And the streets are just crammed with people, locals and tourists alike. And there's taxis weaving in and out of these alleys trying to like get around people, and the bars are full and the drinks are cheap and everyone's having such a great time. Every night is like that, especially on the weekends. I skateboarded a little bit this month. It was kind of hard, A, because of the hills, B, because the roads are so narrow and there's not a lot of room between you and the traffic. In most cases, there's no room. And C, I have a penny board and the deck is plastic. It's a little slippery, especially when it gets wet. So I bought some grip tape, had it shipped to me, put it on my board. And one day I was skating from my apartment to one of the workspaces, and I had to squeeze between this gate and this truck. My back wheel caught the leg of the gate, ripped my board out from under me. I like fell on my hands and face. My book bag came over my head and smashed my face into the asphalt. This whole row of traffic just watching me eat shit. And the guy in the truck like rolled down his window and he was like saying something to me in Portuguese, and I was like, I don't understand what you're saying. And I just like picked up my board and I skated away. And then like an hour later, I realized my Google Moto 360s, what, is that what I even had? No. My Fossil smartwatch fell off my wrist when I fell. I immediately like shut my laptop and ran up the street. Of course, it was gone. We went to SINTRA. SINTRA has these gorgeous castles that you can tour on these huge hills. We did like a little bit of a hike to get up there. SINTRA is really old, and the colors of these castles are just insane. We were on the cliffs in Lagos, standing there at the top of the cliff for the first time, and you're terrified.
I'm very nervous.
I know, I can't. I can't.
You have no idea what's under that water. It could be rocks, it could be clear. It takes every ounce of courage in you to step off the cliff and to make the first jump. Woo! And then you hit the water and you're fine. Everything is great. Holy shit, I did it. And that feeling of accomplishment washes over you with the water. It's easy from that moment on. Every jump after that is a cake. And I think that's an important lesson that can be applied to a lot of areas of life. That's ultimately why I got Lagos tattooed on my arm. The Lagos trip wasn't all gravy. Lish's phone got stolen. We left it on the beach in a shoe.
What criminal mind could penetrate this fortress of security?
But, you know. This is so hard. I never doubted the possibility of true love. I'd never felt it myself. I met someone really important in Lisbon, and she helped open my eyes to a lot of things that I didn't really understand before and never took the time to question. And after we started having these conversations, I began to rethink and reevaluate and actually ask those questions and try to understand my views and why I had them. I grew so much and I matured so much in that month. And I can thank her and those conversations for that. And I'm not going to say any names, but it doesn't matter because it was such an important month for me. The funny thing about traveling is you gain perspective on things that you couldn't have gone out and seeked perspective on. Those 4.5 weeks in Lisbon taught me so much. I learned so many important lessons. There's a word in Portuguese. Hold on. Saudade. We don't have a word for it in English. It basically stands for longing for or missing terribly. I didn't really understand what it meant until I left. Experiencing a city for the first time is so unique because you can only do it once. I have this feeling of saudade, not just for leaving Lisbon, because I'll never have another experience like that again. I love Lisbon. I love that month. I would love to just live and experience those feelings over and over. So, thank you, Lisbon. I miss you guys. Hope to be back again soon.